Ready? All right. Hey, hi heroes. We're going to go over this basic setup of an Airvo today. Take you through the steps and then kind of about the maintenance of it. The Airvo will have a cover over it. Most of the time it will be set up like this. If not, we'll go over that one step at a time. Got a power cord. Power cord will go on the wall. Like so. We have the water down here. It's actually, it will come with a little package around it. This little gadget. This will have this wrapped around the top. These will actually be loose in the package. I guess I probably could have got one that didn't have it. Okay. We'll pull this loose. This has got your spike for the water bag. Okay. And this little adapter goes on top right here with the two large ones, like so. And if you'll notice, there's a little rim right around here. As you place it down here, press down on the front of it, spring loaded, and then push it to the back. Then we line up these two holes with these two holes and just push it in until it seats and it pops up here in the front. See, it's locked into place. Then we would take this, you open up your water bag, and this is, it says inhalation on it. You'll see inhalation water. Belinda keeps these. We keep these in the storeroom across from the nurse's station. They're up there on the shelf with the other supplies that go with this and also the nasal piece. Okay. All right. So this will go on. You pull open the bag, and it's got a little twist down here that you just break off. You pull this off of here, and it's got the nice little spike. Shove it in there. Don't shove it in your hand. Right? Okay. Good. And then you kind of make there's a hole up here at the top. And these little hooks up here at the top of the stand, hanging over that way you've got it hanging. Okay? With the tubing that comes in there, you've got the large tubing. Now let me show you how this goes on. If you'll notice, it's got a little adapter here. It's got the big opening here, and it's got a little wired opening on that. If you'll notice the orifice here, you've got the opening here and the two little places over here. That's where the wires go in. So you'll kind of slide it over that and line that up where it fits on it, and it snaps into place. Okay? Good. All right. Now the other end of the tubing has this little notch on the side. Okay? You can see the little notch here and the little notch here. When you open up the nasal prongs, when you open up these nasal prongs, I'm going to open these up. This tubing has a little notch on each side. Doesn't matter which way, it can go on this way, go that way. Either way, it just lines up and just push it in place and it snaps into place. Okay? Now then, the nasal prongs are very important that we get them seated in the nose correctly. Okay? So make sure they go up in the nose like so. See how they're curved? Okay? They curve in the nose like so, not up. Okay? So it curves in the nose like that. Attach the strap where it's nice and comfortable around the head. Okay? Now, before we put it in the patient, though, before we put it on the patient, we want to turn the unit on. Now we've got the water, we've spiked the water, we've allowed the water to go in. We also need to hook up the oxygen. Now, oxygen flow meter is here. Oxygen flow meter, just like the regular flow meter. We've got a little attachment out here, so we've got the flow meter out here. This actually comes back here to this unit, to this big flow meter, because we're using high flow. Remember, Airvo is a high flow oxygen source. So we'll go to the wall. Let me undo this over here. Here's the flow meter. Push in on the flow meter, push down on the little green tab at the back, and it pops out. Apply the new flow meter into the wall. And now this one is not turned on. We don't need this one. This is not supplying oxygen to the Airvo. The Airvo is supplied by this flow meter. Okay, so now at this point in time, we've got this flow meter hooked up right here through this one. This is just the standard connection tubing that's in there on the shelf, like we do for the cannulas or whatever. It hooks up there.
Extension tubing? It's
extension tubing. It goes from here to right here on the unit. Most of the time, it should be dressed exactly like this, so you don't have to do this. It'd be ready to go for you. And when you get through cleaning it, if you put it back this way, it'd be great. Here's your power switch right here. So we press and hold the power switch till it comes on. Power will come on, and it'll take a little bit of while to warm up. We've got three different values. First is going to be your temperature. The second is going to be your flow. Okay, well, we got that. Notice here, that's the disinfection. See, it's green. It says it's been good to go because this has been cleaned with the red tubing that's in the storeroom. So that shows that it's been disinfected and it's ready to go. If you get anything like yellow or red on there, you might want to grab a different unit and go from there, because it may not have been cleaned recently. Okay, and so it's warming up. So again, here's the three values that we're looking at. We have the temperature, we have the liters, this is the liter flow, and then the FiO2, the percentage of oxygen. Okay, right now there's no oxygen flowing through here, so it's at room air, which is 21%. All right, to address these other values, to change them, we press the play button. Look, it looks like a play button, so we push the play button. First thing that comes up is the temperature. Okay, the temperature right now is set at 37 degrees. Now, you say, well, wait a minute, it just said it was 31. Of course, it's just warming up. It's just starting to warm up because we just turned it on. So it'll take you a little while to come up to the 37. You do not have to wait for it to get to the 37 before you apply it to the patient. But it's starting to warm up, and the starting temperature is at 31 degrees, and it will build from there up to the 37. Okay. Now let me show you. If we wanted to change the temperature, we press the play button. It brings up the temperature. If we hold down the up and down arrow buttons and hold them down at the same time, that number will begin flashing. See, that's flashing. Okay. Now we can adjust from 31 to 37 degrees. All right, and it's in 3 degree increments. So it's 37, 34, or 31. That's only the 3 degrees that we can adjust. We try to keep it at the 37 because that is normal body temperature, so that therefore we reduce the what we call a temperature deficit. Because when a person breathes in air, their air that they breathe in, it has to be warmed to 37 degrees or body temperature by the time it reaches the carina, which is the splitting for the left and right main stem bronchus in the lungs. So the body has to make up the difference. If we're breathing 100 degrees, then it's not having anything to make up. But if we're breathing 70 degree air, then it's got to make up 28.6. If it's 98.6 is what we're looking for. Okay? The difference. So that's why we try to keep this at 37. Sometimes this temperature is a little hot for our patients. They can't take quite that hot air, so we can turn it down to 34 degrees or whatever. Now right now it's at 34 degrees. That's reached the one that we're looking for. Now to change, first we want to change the temperature. It's 37. Now we want to push it again, press the play button again. That's the liter flow. So to change the liter flow, we do the same exact thing as we did before on the temperature. We hold the up and down arrows, hold them till it begins flashing. When it begins flashing, then we can adjust it in 5 liters per minute increments up to wherever we want. And I'm going to bring it back down to 40, and I'm going to press play. That's one time, press it twice, it locks it into place. Okay? Now, we're over to the FiO2. The FiO2 is adjusted by the liter flow from this flow meter here. So, this is the flow meter that goes along. Remember, we plugged this in to the wall. So now as I adjust this flow here, as I turn this flow on here, watch what happens to the FiO2 here. As I adjust it up, the FiO2 goes up. We have to watch both of them, but we don't have to look at the numbers that's on this flow meter. Simply by just turning and watching the number on there, we adjust it to the liter flow that we want, to the FiO2 that we want, to keep the oxygen saturation to the level that we want on the patient. If we're wanting to keep them above 90, then we adjust it to where we keep them above 90. Okay?
The maximum liter is 60?
Maximum liter flow is liters per minute is 60 liters per minute. Okay? And let's go back to that. So that's good question. Okay? So here, if I hold these down, it gets to flashing. If you'll notice on here, 10 is the minimum, 60 is the max. okay? 10 liters and 15 liters, those are in pediatric levels, and we don't really ever go that low. We will go down like 30, I'll let it stay. It automatically goes back to lock if you don't adjust it. So I'm gonna hold it down again, let it flash. Most of the time I never go below 30. I start at 30, and then I'll work my way up, okay? Press it, lock it, okay? Now, 95, if you'll notice here, 21% is the low FiO2, which is room air, nothing going through, just but the flow, and 95% is the high. So if you get it above 95%, which I'm going to turn it up here so it actually goes to 100, what's going to happen when it gets to that, it's going to start alarming after a while and tell me that you're not supposed to go there. That's too much. And anything over 95 is not good. We want to get it back down to 95 or less. And it'll start alarming. There it is. O2 is too high. O2 is too high. Now I've turned it back down, so let's see if it'll go ahead and turn that alarm off. It should stop after a little bit because I've got it back down to 90%. There it is. Okay. Now the key thing that you want to watch for while you've got a patient on therapy is that the nose piece is securely fastened in the nose. If it reduces the flow, if it's got a kink or a twist in the tubing, or one of the nose pieces is up against the side of the nostril or something like that, or gets kinked a little bit, you may have something where it's not able to achieve the flow, the liters per minute. Now watch what's happening. I'm gonna block one of these and see. You'll see how it kind of starts coming down on the flow. And it's going to start alarming probably at me pretty soon because it's not able to achieve that flow. And also notice what it did to the FiO2. Check for blockages. It says check for blockages. So you'll go in the room and to troubleshoot it, you want to look and make sure that there's not anything blocking the tubing, that there's not any water in the tubing. Shouldn't be, because this is actually heated tubing. That was the lead electrical pins that you saw at the top. Okay, check and make sure that this is not kinked, the tubing here is not kinked anywhere, and that these nasal prongs, most of the time that I see this, it's because the nasal prongs have gotten off to the side in the patient's nose, or they got boogers. Mm-hmm. Seriously, they might have stuff in there, mucus that's got plugged, so we have to clean it, take it out, clean it a little bit with water, put it back in the patient's nose, everything's good. Okay? All right. We want to make sure that we keep the water bags full. Don't let it run out, because there's nothing worse than blowing 60 liters or whatever, 40 liters even of air, hot, warm, dry air into a patient's nose. You can cause, it burns. So we don't want to dry them out. So make sure that you keep this bag full. As it gets down, don't let it get completely empty. It's when it gets down a little bit low, go ahead and change it out. Don't wait. You don't have to wait till it gets completely empty. If you're at the end of the shift, go ahead and change it if it's down low. Go ahead and switch it out and put a new bag on. That way the next shift does not have to worry about that when they're getting checked, because it may be a while. Something may happen at the first of the shift, and they may not be able to go in there and check, and that bag runs dry. The patient's going to suffer, and we want to take care of that patient. So, how
long typically does a bag last?
Depending on the liter flow, really. If you're on 60 liters, I can say pretty much about a shift.
Okay. A 12-hour shift.
A 12-hour shift.
Okay.
Now, if you're running at 37 degrees and 60 liters, it possibly will not last a full shift.
Okay.
Just it's important to watch. Okay. I've had some, and it has to do with the relative humidity as well that we have in the air right now. It has a lot to do with how much the water deposition goes into it. So it'll vary any time. Just keep a watch on it. Check it from time to time, and you'll notice when it's half full, when it's 3/4 empty. It's getting close to time. So just monitor that. Okay. Making sure that the nasal prongs are kept clean. One other thing. Another thing to help keep this from getting kinked or actually pulling on the patient is they have this wonderful little tool right here. This is a little clamp, and you just mash it open and then clamp it to the patient's gown. Here you can see it. clamp it to the patient's gown or their pillow, where it's something close to their head, where every place that they move, it will stay with them. So it's not going to be pulling and tugging, because this is a little heavy tubing, you know, and pulling back and forth, and the patient's moving around in bed. We don't want this pulling against that. We want this secured. So that's a helpful tool that's on there. Okay, and to chart it, needs to be charted. Document Q4 and change fluids Q6 to Q8 or when empty. You know, it's just check it, making sure that you're checking those. You've got the date, the time, the humidity level, which is the first number, the liters per minute, that's the flow on there. Not this flow, again, that's the flow that you see on the machine, how many liters per minute flow that you're putting in, and the FiO2, or the percentage of oxygen. You want to take the patient's pulse ox every 4 hours, check their pulse ox. Most of the time, these patients that are on this, they are on continuous monitoring. It'll also have their heart rate right there. You just have to count the respirations and write that down there and initial it. This will either stay at the nurse's station or on the door, out in the little cubby outside the door of the patient's room. That way you can document this, and then you'll have this as a record that you can chart in the notes.
So
Okay.
transcribe it into the electronic record.
Sure, that way you've got it. This is not enough, okay?
Is
It
it
really
just a
needs to
chart
go in
note?
the EHR, that way everybody can look at it and they don't have to look for this. And the doctors can see this from their office or wherever they need to. They can check in and look at that. They can check in and look at the electronic health records.
Does
to see.
it go just in a chart note, or do we have a template or anything built?
There's not an assessment for the Airvo.
Okay.
It just goes in the chart note.
Okay.
As just a chart note. Okay. All right. Any questions? All right.
Not unless you want to go through
I'm here.
taking it down and cleaning
Okay.
it.
Yeah, I can do that. That's a great deal. Thank you for that. Yeah, that would be good.
I'm gonna stop it.
Okay.